Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sleepy Vlog number 92. I have a very miscellaneous vlog for you. Sleepy vlogs, which I don't do very frequently anymore, are where I talk about a bunch of random stuff. And this one is mostly going to be a lot of AOK and Hall stuff, especially the AOKs. But I'm hoping to sort of squeeze in some thoughts I've had lately popping up about the relationships of artists to creation and things like that, and copyright stuff and creator rights that popped into my mind after watching a documentary about Taylor Ferry. But the main thing going on here is to show a bunch of AOKs and other things I've received. I got a package in the mail from Brian at Comiccrazy. I was on his Jeopardy show, and he gave all the contestants some presents. I haven't looked at what I've got yet. I've opened the package just so it'll make it a little smoother. So I'll be doing that unboxing and AOKing. And Tomi Nikodemus sent gifts for Bob, Comics with Bueller, and myself, all to Bob. And last time I saw Bob, he brought the package. We had a little trouble sorting out what was for whom in terms of me and Travis, Comics with Bueller. Travis ended up giving me most of the stuff. Some of it was clearly for me, and some of it was ambiguous. He took just a few things because he's trying to pare everything down to fit his entire life into a minibus. But if Tomi's watching, he can tell me if any of these specific things were meant especially for Travis. So that's really great. I also have some stuff to show that Bueller gave me. One thing that he gave me was a copy of this illustration that a really great fan of the YouTube shows sent him, and he made copies on really nice paper to give out to the rest of us. So this, and I don't know the name of the artist. I need to. I'll add it into the show notes when I find it out. You can see the signature there. The detail is incredible. I don't know on my document camera if it all comes out. For instance, Sam is holding a comic book with Daredevil, Conan, Punisher, and Spider-Man on it, on the cover. And we each have a t-shirt with something relating to our logos. Me with my Stolen Vision image. I think everyone else has a custom logo, so they can actually put them on t-shirts. Then we've got the background here with all kinds of comic book goodness. We've each got our drinks with all this detail. So and a symbol of each person here. So there's a broadsword like Conan might use to symbolize me. Broadsword like Conan might use to symbolize me. A gun, I guess the Punisher's gun, to symbolize Bueller's favorite character. And the spider web, of course, is Sam's favorite character, Spider-Man, the Tangled Web. And then a billy club for Daredevil, a.k.a. for Bullseye Bob. So this is just an incredible illustration. We all agree that the likeness of Sam is particularly on target. Likenesses are really hard, and there's a good job on all of these. But maybe because no one judges their own likeness as well as other people's. But we really love that likeness of Sam there. So anyway, big thanks to that artist whose name I wish I knew. So moving on from there, I want to start with the package from Brian. I loved being on his Jeopardy show. Didn't hurt that I did very well on it. And now I'm about to score big with these gifts he sent me. I will definitely put a link to that video down below. And anyone who hasn't checked out Brian Comiccrazy's channel, You definitely should. He does an eclectic mix of things. He does a weekly comic book show. He does other things like virtual flying, virtual piloting, and virtual truck driving. I used to like his truck driving a lot. I like the flying too. And he's really good at putting together good videos. And so he should have more eyeballs on what he's doing. But anyway, let's see what is in the box. There's some packing material. And whoa-ho, a Justice League Gods and Monsters action figure. I haven't bought action figures since I bought a whole bunch when my daughter was young. I was all enthusiastic, and all of them got kind of destroyed. Now we could play with these babies, and things will go much better. Funny with the replaceable head. And I've been meaning to watch the movie of Gods and Monsters. I own it, and I never got around to watching it, so this is a good reminder. It had great looking visuals. So let's see what else. Packing material. And this is probably the main part of the AOK, or the winnings on Jeopardy. I believe I won $95. Brian didn't have to do any of this. He's a very generous man, because I was, just all the effort and fun he gave us, and all the effort he put into that Jeopardy game was very impressive. Between getting the questions, setting it up technically, hosting it very well. I'm always very impressed by Brian and what he does. Let's see. Yes, the awkwardness of the unboxing. But I didn't want to know what was in here ahead of time. Look. There we go. Don't worry, no comics are being harmed. So, I guess, I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I wanted to talk about, the whole family watched this documentary about Taylor Ferry, because my wife was involved in a podcast where they interviewed him. So more about that soon. So here we have what Brian sent me. We got a Ghost Rider Wolverine Punisher book, The Dark Design. Interesting design to the comic. It looks like this is gem mint. It looks like it's been untouched. I'm now touching it, as I touch all my comics. So it's now just near mint. This is cool. I never saw this when it originally came out. I wonder when this was. It's $5.95. It is from 1994. Cool. And the art is by Ron Garney. I love Ron Garney, so this is amazing. And even back then, in 1994, that Ron Garney art looks good. So that is great. That alone is great. Oh, classic Hulk cover. I don't think I've read this one. Is this probably from the Peter David period, but I'm not absolutely sure, or perhaps from before. And it is in that super, super thick Mylar, highly protected. Thank you, Brian. And, Deathzilla, Queen of Hell. I love this because I love Godzilla. I know nothing about Coffin Comics. And the price is $666. This is awesome. It says 2020 Emerald City Comic Con exclusive, limited to 150. This is number 54 out of 150. So that's incredible. That is a really unique comic. She is fiery. She's fearsome, from the Coffin Studios Feared movie series, Fearsome First Issues. It's also in incredibly nice Mylar. So I'm not going to open it up right now, but maybe in another video I'll take a look inside. Okay, this is the ultimate prize to me. I think this is the one I told him I wanted when he was showing. I know this is the one I told him I wanted when he was showing a bunch of the options. And this alone would have made me happy. This is a I'm trying to collect the whole run of Submariner. It looks like it's inked or perhaps drawn by John Severin, and it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I love this early Submariner covers. They're all amazing. This, of course, is in shiny, shiny Mylar. And apparently, this is now kind of a key issue with some monster that's going to be showing up. What, in the Doctor Strange movie? Now I can't remember the name. But so key issue there. And then this is some kind of digital variant cover on the Immortal Hulk. And I love the Immortal Hulk, so it's great to have this. And of course, I love that original Jack Kirby cover. If you look closer, though, you can see that they've purposefully made it as if it were maybe drawn with an old mouse before they had styluses and stuff. And if you wanted to draw digitally, you had to draw with your mouse. Okay. Oh, and then he mentioned this mini-series, which goes with the toy and with the movie that I need to watch. The Justice League Gods and Monsters series. This is really wrapped up. I guess I'll give it a shot. So he's wrapped the whole group in some kind of cellophane, and then everything is bagged and boarded inside that. So very good packing. Everything arrived in pristine shape. The package also arrived very quickly. I've been holding on to it for a while for my chance to do a live unboxing in front of. Oh wait, there's a bunch of notes here, and I didn't notice them beforehand. Let's see. A parallel universe where Superman isn't so good, Wonder Woman is a Conan-esque sword-wielding expert, and Batman is a living vampire. A 3-issue series, plus some one-shots. So, thanks for those notes, Brian. Let me shrink myself, because I like looking at these. There we go. Tiny, tiny me. So there is the cover to issue 1. Always a little bit of a struggle. This camera is good, but not quite perfect. There's issue 1, issue 2. Looks like this is written by J.M. D. Matias, drawn by Bruce Timm, or another Tim, I think. There's issue 3. And here are some of the one-shots, I think. There's the Superman one-shot. There's maybe the not-so-good Superman. The Batman one-shot. Oh, that's creepy. And, I love the look of the Wonder Woman. So this is very much an Elseworlds, a variation of the Justice League. I see the name Leonardi here, too. So we're going to have a bunch of high-quality stuff. Let me just crack open one and take a peek. I remember when this came out, and I was trying to decide whether to get it or not, and I might have had limited funds for how many comics to buy each month then, and I decided in the end not to get it, and imagined I would get it later, and I bought the movie when it came out, and a cool ad for Comic-Con. So there's the interior of the Wonder Woman. So thank you very much, Brian. Let me, this is very disorganized. But so I wanted to talk, I'm teasing it because I'm going to talk about it some more, about, there was this documentary about this artist, Shepard Ferry, who created this poster that's very famous for Barack Obama. And there was a big controversy around that. And the documentary is about his whole art career and his life, but it kind of pivots over a lawsuit that ended up happening over who really created this image. And it made me think of a bunch of the comic book lawsuits too. But so that's a teaser. Let's move on to the gifts that came from Tomi Nikodemus. He is a fantastic commenter on my videos, and I think on a lot of other people's videos. I think, now I'm worried I got it wrong. Does he live in Sweden or Norway? I'm sorry, Tomi. You probably told me once or twice in the comments. And he has his own channel with very few subs so far. I think he's put up 3 or more videos. So I will link him there, and I suggest you go take a look there, because he will be showing you interesting things that most of us in the US or in the English-speaking comics world may not have seen. So amongst the stuff that he sent, I think this was specifically meant for me probably, was this thing called Spike and Suzy, the Loch Ness Monster. So this is in English, but I think it's originally from Tomi's country. Does it say on the back here where it comes from? What language it was originally translated from? So anyway, he sent 2 of them. The Secret of the Incas. It looks very Tintin inspired. And the Loch Ness Mystery. And let's take a quick peek. Oh, and here's something here. The Greatest Adventures of Spike and Suzy International. Highland Games. Circle of Power. So that's interesting. It's kind of it looks like it's almost something aimed at teachers or schools. Because it says, adventure and comic aspects of the book appeal especially to boys, but also to girls. Reluctant readers are encouraged by attractive illustrations. So interesting. And this is from a company in Edinburgh. So this was probably the company's attempt to get British schools to adapt these works. So let's take a peek inside. Make me small, please. Need more coffee. I was on No Good Comics, Justin's show, where he interviews different people from YouTube, and that was a fantastic time, and I highly recommend checking that out if you're curious, or checking his channel out in general, because Justin does all kinds of interesting things. But he asked me what my favorite coffee was, and I held this up, and it's a Starbucks Nitro Cold Brew. And I wasn't saying Starbucks is my favorite coffee. I was saying Nitro Cold Brew is my favorite coffee. And I bring that up because Travis Bueller was really pissed off at me for not saying Mocha Express is my favorite coffee. I'm not a sophisticated coffee drinker, and I don't like, focus on different blends and people who have good stuff. Well, I know I like cold brew a lot. And so I was just and I especially like Nitro Cold Brew. Everything I have at Mocha Express is actually really awesome, really good stuff. They have a very good cold brew, but it's not nitro, so it's sadly not my favorite. And I think it takes an extra level of buying gear and stuff, so the Nitro Cold Brew is not available everywhere. So anyway, let's look at Spike and Suzy. These are immediately very appealing to me just seeing the covers, so I'm very thrilled. And yeah, continuing the sense of a very Hergé-inspired work. Looks very cool. Even the lettering reminds me a bit of Hergé, but it's not overwhelming. There's not as much text on here, so it might actually be a better starter book for kids than Tintin, in terms of not overwhelming them with too much text. So I will definitely read these pretty soon. But I think I'll start with Secret of the Incas. I just love that image there. Looks like this is a well-loved book, but still very readable. In the front, they give you the characters. So we've got Aunt Sidonia, Spike, Suzy, and Ambrose. Ambrose looks a bit like one of those detectives in Tintin. So anyway, I'm really excited about that. And then another thing I got, this may have been meant for Bueller, I'm guessing, because it's Todd McFarlane comics, but not in English. I'm feeling like an idiot not knowing if this is, it's somewhere in Northern Europe that Tomi comes from. I just can't remember. Is it Sweden? Is it Finland? Is it, and I hope that's not horribly insulting. This was printed in Spain. I'm looking for clues. Belgium, original Dutch edition. Maybe, Tomi, are you from Holland, as we call it, the Netherlands? Anyway, there's this. I don't know what language it's in, but it's a bunch of 90s Marvel comics. This is embarrassing that I don't know the language. So we got the Wendigo, drawn by Todd McFarlane. Pretty cool. Is this Jim Lee here? I'm not sure. Maybe not. I'm not an expert on Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane and the rest. Are there credits? Okay. Well, anyway, this amazing to think, like, if you're a kid and you go to a store and you get this many Marvel comics all in one package. I remember seeing this kind of thing in other countries or from other countries and being very jealous of it, versus the individual, because I always wanted just more comics. This obviously is a Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. I know I saw some stuff that I was quite sure was not Todd McFarlane. Oh, here we go. Yeah, of course, Rick Leonardi. We got Spider-Man 2099. So this is very cool stuff. Helsinki. Okay, this is from Helsinki. Is that Finland? I feel like an idiot now. I forget which country Helsinki's in. Okay, I'm really exposing my stupidity. Okay, so like this one said to Bueller and Sleepy Reader. Finland, it actually mentions the country. I think Helsinki is in Finland. Finland, which is known to us to have the best educated kids in the world. Fingerpori from Finland. Welcome to Fingerpori, the strangest and funniest town in Finland. Pertti Jarla's praised comic strip tells all you need to know about being a Finn. Oh, good, I'm going to get educated. Enjoy this new expanded edition. I like the art. It's it reminds me of something. Anyway, that's a really appealing art style. A little bit of Far Side, a little bit of some underground comics in this as a point of comparison. And there's another comic strip that was out there for a while. Maybe it's still out there, that kind of filled the gap that Far Side left behind. That, and the style here reminds me a bit of it. Wow, this is really cool. And in English, so I can read it. You won't get anything from that pool of piss. Should that be the title of this video? Okay, the stuff from Tomi just keeps coming, so maybe I should hurry up. I am not sure what this is. It looks like it originally came from a library. And we've got photos. Every day we experience miracles, but all too often dismiss them as coincidences. So I don't know what this is. I don't know what the title is. I'm not These Feet. Is that the title of it? It says 3rd edition. It has kind of a self-published look. So interesting. Kind of like some indie zine type of comics here, perhaps. So I don't know. Pictures of the artist, perhaps? I'm Not These Feet. I guess that's the title of the book. Interesting. Weird. I wonder if there's a story behind this, Tomi. And then some American comics that he sent to us all the way from Finland, I guess. The Family Trade by Justin Jordan. I have not heard of this Justin Jordan comic before. I do have Rock Candy Mountain. I haven't read it, but I have The Trade of Rock Candy Mountain by Kyle Starks and Chris Schweitzer. So that should be good. That's a reminder that I should read that. But maybe I'll find someone to regift this issue to. Issue number 1 of Dead Letters from Chris Sabella. And it's from Boom Studios. And then, interestingly, a hodgepodge, I think, of Grendel's. Grendel Tales, number 1 of 6. Grendel Tales 1 of 3. So different Grendel Tales series. Grendel Tales 4 of 4. So yet another one. It's Devil's Choices, Homecoming, and 4 Devils, 1 Hell. And Grendel Tales, The Devil in Our Midst, 1 of 5. Grendel Tales, 2 of 5. Well, this is good. It'll help jumpstart my Grendel collecting because I read some Grendel a long time ago and then kind of lost track of all the different Grendel series. And then I read the latest Grendel series from Dark Horse recently, which was quite good until maybe the final issue or 2, where it really kind of fell off a cliff for me. Okay, so thank you very much, Tomi, and and thank you so much for all your excellent comments that I'm always seeing in my feed of comments. So what do yes. I feel like I'm not a master of this technology, unlike Brian Comiccrazy, and so I get discombobulated as I'm trying to struggle with it. So almost every time I see Travis Comics with Bueller, he gives me something. And I don't have all the things he's given me here, but I do have a few. He gave me this movie of The Man Thing. I had no idea there was a Man Thing movie at any point. He says it's not very good, but I'm still glad to have it. It looks like it's from 2004. Any actors' names I recognize? Matthew Leneves, Rachel Taylor, and Jack Thompson as Schist. I don't recognize that name. Director Brett Leonard. It's R-rated, so I have to watch it by myself. But I'm very curious to see how they did Man Thing. I think Swamp Thing is a much easier subject matter, although the Swamp Thing movies had their issues because the Swamp Thing is intelligent and can express himself. And then he gave me this I love. This is out of Sam's collection, something that Bueller did not sell off, and he saved it for me. And it is a one of those record and book sets. And I do have a turntable, so I plan to actually play it. I haven't looked inside yet, so I'm going to do that. But actually, before I look inside that, before I move my screens around again, let me just say the other thing he gave me recently was this Treasury edition of the Fantastic Four. I had this as a kid. I didn't have it now, so I was very happy to get it again. And it includes the Galactus trilogy and reprints a bunch of other old Kirby and Lee Fantastic Fours. So that was really cool. So let's shuffle this around, and we'll take a look inside this record, this book and record set. I think I may have had one Conan one of these back in the day. I think I bought it at a department store called Caldor's, which I don't think exists anymore. But then I never saw any more of these or had a chance to buy any more, and there's something exciting about them now to me. And I bought a few, but I didn't already have this one. Ooh, look at the end papers. That's really cool. Bunch of different Marvel characters. Looks like John Romita. And of course, John Romita in here. I wonder if this is edited. I don't see a splash page. That's interesting. So I wonder if they took the original comic and kind of chopped it up a bit to turn it into their audiobook. I'm trying to figure out if this is all John Romita art or if it is John Romita over Gil Kane layouts. That's what I'm suspecting. John Romita was a very dominating inker, especially over Gil Kane. I've seen like examples of original Gil Kane pencils and then what John Romita turned them into. It could be just John Romita. So there's the whole thing, and there's the record. Woohoo! I think I need to get one of those things that goes in the middle to convert my turntable to the right size. My turntable does do 45 RPM. So, wow, that's in good shape. That's in very good shape. So this is awesome. I'm excited to play this very soon and buy some more. What are the other ones I bought? I bought them a while ago when I did not have my turntable put together, like it was in storage, and I haven't played them yet. Okay, what else did I want to chat about? I was this fellow called Stapled Spine said hello to me on on Instagram after I appeared on one of Bueller's videos. And he's in Portland, and hopefully I'll get to meet him in person sometime. I went to his website and I bought these zines from him. He does this horror zine, and I've read the entirety, or just about, with there's a few things I haven't read yet in here, but I had the greatest time reading this horror fanzine. It was just really fun. It has a zingy, not to be taken too seriously kind of voice to it that really takes me back to the fun old days of fanzines, and in the spirit of things like Stan Lee and just the zany, old-fashioned, old-fashioned way of doing fandom. So if you're into horror fanzines, I'd say this is a really good one. And they talk about movies, about comics. They have little games in it, naughty pictures. I want to do the maze. Should I do the maze? I don't want to. There's a good interview with Colin Bunn here. Like, here's the they have a picture of Colin Bunn, but they've drawn all over it. That's just the kind of fun that you find in this kind of thing. Suckheads beware. So, yeah, loved it. And I haven't read this other issue yet, or I've just looked through it. So I think this was just meant to be a zine that people would pick up around Portland. So I feel, and I guess it's at Cosmic Monkey and some other places, but I didn't notice it there. I was focused purely on comics probably. But he mentions that he is now reaching out to a larger zine community, I think in this issue here. So that's really cool. This one, although called Stapled Spine, is not stapled. Look at that maze. That's intense. I wonder if he made his own mazes. Or the other thing is, I'm not sure what his real name is. I don't know if there's a name of the editor / writer of most of this stuff listed. There's other individuals mentioned when they did a piece or a story. So that's kind of interesting. Anyway, really cool. I'll dig up the link to his website and also put that in the notes. So back to Taylor Ferry. This is a total mess. I shouldn't have done things this way. So he is famous for sort of graffiti art, sticker art, posting stickers all around town. He did a whole bunch of stuff with the image of Andre the Giant. And eventually very much abstracted it. I think the estate of Andre the Giant came after him and said, you know, if you can't make any money off of an image that is clearly Andre the Giant. So once he started making money off of it, he abstracted the face and did this obey thing, which I guess made him a little bit famous. And then later on, he created, just volunteered to create this hope poster for Barack Obama, and it became really famous. And later on, when it became really famous, the AP Wire, who published this photo that apparently he took and then, you know, digitally or otherwise, perhaps just in silkscreen process, simplified down and recolored and rejiggered in some ways. But this is the photo he used, apparently. And the AP sued him for many millions of dollars. And I guess the case dragged on for a very long time. And his side, the argument was it was fair use. And the AP's argument is, you know, you can't just take our art, our copyright property, and do whatever you want with it and make money from it. He would also argue he didn't make much money from this particular poster, although it made him super famous, and now he gets museum shows and all kinds of things like that. I can't remember the name of the documentary, so I will put that down below too. I'll dig it up. But I think if you search around for a documentary about Taylor Ferry, you'll find it. We got it on one of our streaming services. I can't remember which one. But in the documentary, once they get to the section about the whole lawsuit here about this image, they start bringing in the original photographer who was hired or worked freelance, I'm not sure which, by the AP, the Associated Press, to take this picture. And the documentary's filmed in a funny way, so it seems like that photographer is attacking Taylor Ferry. But as the story unfolds, it eventually becomes clear that he and Taylor Ferry became friends. And he's saying, I took this original photo, and Taylor Ferry did make something different out of it, but he was using my work, and I should have got some credit. I should have got some acknowledgement. And I thought that was very interesting. There's a lot of there's a problem when people treat other people's work, maybe because it was commercial, as just found material. Treating Andre the Giant as just a found material that I can just use him any way I want. And there is the idea of fair use, but what is fair use? I mean, I've always thought it was for satire or for the use of review. Is it fair use also for the creation of art that is based on something else? Like, is it fair? Apparently, it may or may not be, because in the end, after all the kind of all the expensive, like apparently the AP spent $12 million on this case before they settled out of court. It never went to court. So it never got decided, is this fair use or not? And what connected me, well, my first connection when I was listening to this or watching this video is I thought of how cheated the comic book artists from the 40s and 50s, whose work was lifted by Roy Lichtenstein, and they were, they were paid almost nothing, and he got millions of dollars because he became sort of an overnight famous artist. Not all artists get millions of dollars. Often it's just the collector who buys their work later on. And to my knowledge, he never gave anything to the original artist. Now, of course, the original artists did not own their image, like in the case with the AP. This would have been owned by whatever company published it. So this was based, I believe, on a Russ Heath panel. And, of course, Lichtenstein lifted a whole bunch of things and became famous for it. And was that fair use? Should he co-credit the artist? If he got $4 million for this, and I don't know if he really did, but that's the claim. If he got $4 million for this back in the early 60s or the 50s, should he have given $2 million to Russ Heath or $2 million to the copyright holder? Russ Heath did a comic strip when he was 91, I believe, about Roy Lichtenstein's Wham. He says, Roy Lichtenstein's Wham painting is based on one of my panels from an old DC War comic. So its copyright owner is National Comics or now DC Warner Brothers, etc. Roy got $4 million for it. I got $0. The Museum of Modern Art invited me to the opening when they displayed it. However, I couldn't make it due to deadlines. But I figured Lichtenstein owed me a drink at least. Apparently he didn't get the drink. I don't know. So it sounds like the museum, anyway, acknowledged slightly that by inviting him to the opening. These days, I'm on what they call a fixed income, Social Security, supplemented with a few commissions. Social Security inches up a little, but the groceries go up a lot. I had to cut out wine, couldn't even afford a bottle. Damn, I'm going to miss wine. Fortunately, Hero Initiative, so the Hero Initiative done by the comics community, was a big help. First time I met with them, they gave me a $250 gift card for the groceries. They even bought me a bottle of wine. More importantly, they kept me going when I was laid up for a few months after my knee replacement surgery. Hey, it happens when you're 84 years old. So I think 91 was later then. I don't know where I got the 91. They're a wonderful organization that's helped many people. Wonderful guys. But of everything they've done, the thing I liked best was the bottle of wine. Well, Roy, I guess I finally got that drink, Russ Heath. And it got me thinking about just the gray area of the world of creators and the gray area of like what are the rights of that photographer, that AP photographer whose photo was the basis of a super famous poster / work of art that made the career of Taylor Ferry. It looks like he and Taylor Ferry must have acknowledged him in a way, and now he is happy and friends with Taylor Ferry. I think a lot of what creators want is acknowledgement. Like the breakup of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee was when Stan Lee was getting all this press, at least a big factor in the breakup of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Stan Lee was getting all this press. The press was crediting him as the creator of the whole Marvel universe, and he was fine with letting them think that. He did not go out of his way to share the spotlight with Jack, or potentially with Steve Ditko, and from like recently, there's an upcoming lawsuit against Robert Kirkman from his colorist Bill Crabtree, and in part that was a breakdown in communications, and then perhaps greed on Kirkman's part, or something else. We don't know Kirkman's side of the story, really, do we? And of course, a breakdown of an oral agreement. And Steve Ditko never sued or tried to get any rights in his lifetime, but now, because of the ways copyright works, now is a moment in which the Ditko family can make a claim on the work of Steve Ditko and their ownership of it. And so they have, and I haven't heard much about it since. But when it came out, I heard people saying, all these cases have been lost, that like the Kirby family and other people have lost. But really, like the Shepard Ferry, I don't know why I want to call him Taylor Ferry. Like the Shepard Ferry case, it never went to court. These things were settled out of court. The AP, after spending $12 million, must have decided, we don't want to risk finding out what the definition of the fair use is. And I believe with the Jack Kirby family, as it was heading towards the highest courts, the Disney Corporation didn't want to find out what the judges might rule. If the judges ruled against them and said, yes, the estates or the creators of these original things have more rights than they've been given, then the whole empire of Marvel movies might start becoming a total legal mess. So they settled. So it doesn't mean when these things go to court that the issue is settled. The gray areas in the law with these creative things are huge, and people often say, well, they signed the contract and that sort of thing, but actually there were no contracts, and it was just I believe back in the old days it was just a industry policy that if you endorse the back of the check to cash it, then you agreed to give them everything. And I remember reading that actually Kirby and Simon had an agreement with what was then Timely Comics, that they would have a share and control over Captain America, a share of the profits. So they left Timely after 10 issues of Captain America because they never got their share and they never got their rights. And I don't know if that was an oral agreement or just a written agreement that was not lived up to. But a lot of this sort of artistic rights, copyrights, it's a matter of it's like a game of poker with bluffing and who's holding what cards and no one knows for sure, and a gamesmanship and all of that. And back in the past, with like Simon and Kirby and Captain America, they were young guys. They probably didn't know what to do once their rights were taken out from under them, and they just left and went to work for DC. And Kirby only came back to Timely Marvel when there was no other work and he had to keep his family going. And then I know in the 70s, late 70s or maybe early 80s, Kirby was asking for his art back from Marvel because Marvel was now giving the artists their art back, and Marvel wouldn't give his art back unless he would sign a contract then. Which shows they knew there was no previous contract, which even goes to the Crabtree-Kirkman case, where Kirkman came back and tried to get Crabtree to sign yet another contract, at which point Crabtree said, wait a minute, this is all... I'm paraphrasing. I don't really know what Crabtree said at the time. But anyway, there was another example of all of that I was thinking of. Now I can't remember it. Okay, dead air's not good. So, I don't know why I think about these things, except it just comes up every now and then. And for whatever, being at the fringe of the creative world, it's of interest to me. And I sometimes think about playing around with other people's images or other people's ideas. When I was trying to be a science fiction writer, and I went to some writers' workshops and did sell some short stories, but never a novel. People always said, you don't own your ideas. You don't even own titles of books. All you have the copyright to is the, excuse me, is the words. But then I was reading about the accusations of Bill Mantlo, the idea that Bill Mantlo stole, plagiarized a Harlan Ellison story, and I need to search out that story. But Harlan Ellison is infamously the squeaky wheel that demands the oil, and normally writers just accept people are going to take their ideas and do whatever they want with them. And that happens all the time, right? We see that in comics all the time, and we certainly see that with science fiction. And people are always talking about, well, this idea came from there, and that idea came from here. I'd have to look at the Bill Manilow thing to see if he actually stole dialogue or other very specific stuff. But I think legally, you can take people's ideas and make your own thing out of them, as far as I know. Maybe it's a little different in movies, or maybe it's just if that person's willing to make themselves a legal nuisance, then you have to either decide to settle with them or spend a huge amount of money and go to court and see what the courts say, and no one knows what the courts are going to say. One thing I wanted to say in terms of an actual creation of a piece of art, my understanding is, so like with Ditko and Kirby and other people where there were no contracts, if you make the art, it's automatically assumed to be your copyright, unless there's a contract specifically saying it isn't. That's the general rule with copyright. So like if you write a story, when I write a story, it is automatically copyright Damien Kilby because it's created by Damien Kilby under our laws. Now that might be hard to prove if someone else comes along and says, I wrote that and Damien just put his name on it. I suppose you would go to court and see what a judge says. But unless you have a specific contract, like I write a story and have a contract with the magazine, which usually would be First North American Serial Rights, if somewhere on that contract it said we own all rights, and then I sign that contract, then they, I guess, own all rights. Unless I can prove they fooled me or hid that clause or something like that, then there might still be a question. Again, that might apply to Alan Moore. There might have been hidden clauses that Alan Moore didn't know about or wasn't told about when he signed up. Anyway, some more comics I picked up. I decided I wanted to own a Carl Barks comic, and my comic shop bought a huge collection that I think had every issue of Walt Disney's comics and stories and every issue of a bunch of other Disney comics. And so I bought one of the cheaper ones, but it said all Barks on it. I have read some Carl Barks in collections, but it seemed like he's such a historic figure, it would be nice to own an individual comic. If I were apparently kids back then, just, they didn't know his name, but they thought of the good artist. And I haven't seen the non-good artists from back then to have like a point of comparison. I've enjoyed the Carl Barks comics I've read in the past, but I haven't been crazy about. I haven't gone, oh my God, Carl Barks is God, and I need to go get all his comics or something, or all the collections of his comics. I wonder if this is accurate, if this part is Carl Barks too, or whether my comic shop owner knew what he was. He knows more than I do about Carl Barks, that's for sure, but I don't know if it really is all Carl Barks. Because people always talk about him as the duck artist. I don't know if he did a lot of the other stuff. Did he do this Mickey and Goofy strip also? I don't know. Oh, and before I was talking about Brian Comiccrazy, he was selling some comics on his channel for a very reasonable amount. So I finished my Captain Marvel run, or the part of Captain Marvel run that I was collecting. I got issue 1 from him. And so I've collected now the entire Captain Marvel run up to when Jim Starlin took over. I love the covers of these early Captain Marvels. They're pretty incredible. Again, the great Mylar that Brian uses. And I got issue 6 from him. It's an incredible cover. I think I knew who these covers were by, but I'm not sure. Some are by Marie Severin, some are by Don Heck. This might be a Don Heck one. Some are by Gene Colan, I think. This says Sever on it, so I think that's Severin. Maybe it's Severin and Severin, although it doesn't look like John Severin inking to me. Issue 10 I bought from him. Oh, this is an all-time favorite cover of mine. Issue 16, but I'm not sure who did this cover. It looks very Kirby-esque, but I don't think it's Kirby. I wonder if that's like Trimpe and Severin or something like that. And then into the change in the costume and a Gil Kane cover. Kane and Adkins. Dan Adkins was an excellent inker. A good artist too, but a really fine inker. And there's no signature on this one, but it's obviously Gil Kane, and I don't know if Adkins also inked that, issue 18. Yeah, love these covers. So now at some point when I find the time, I want to read all these issues leading up to the Starlin run. And when I feel like spending more higher levels of money, I guess I'll look for those Starlin books. It's interesting because a lot of comics that used to be like really sought after because of who the artist or the creator was of them have fallen by the wayside with the key collecting, where they care more about what first appearances are in something. But it seems like those Jim Starlin, Captain Marvel, and Warlock ones have held a lot of value over time. I don't know if they've gone up in value a lot, but they're still, even though they're not generally key comics, maybe some of them have introductions of characters like Pip the Troll or something. They're all a little harder to get a hold of. Anyway, I bought another Howard the Duck. Let's see, I assume it's going to be Gene Colan inside, but that other Howard the Duck I read recently turned out to be John Buscema. Yeah, I can tell instantly that's Gene Colan. Still Steve Gerber, the writer. Klaus Janson inks. That's interesting. Colan, my favorite inker on Colan is definitely Tom Palmer, but Janson seems like a great choice to ink over Colan also. Oh, there's my old body. Not really. Yeah, I love Gene Colan artwork. I really enjoyed that other Howard the Duck I read, but it's funny because like maybe 10 years ago when I tried reading some Howard the Duck, I just found them so, I don't know, a little bit sludgy in something about the writing. But maybe I just read the wrong ones for starters. We'll see how this is. Steve Gerber would and could spoof anything, I think. Of course, he's mostly spoofing Marvel's own material, so that's certainly not a problem with fair use, eh? But I think it's pretty clear that spoofing things is fair use. Although my understanding is that some people trying to spoof Mickey Mouse or other Disney characters can get into a lot of trouble. It's interesting, my OBS here doesn't tell me how long I've been talking for, so I've probably been talking a long time. I'll just show a few more comics. I grabbed this Unexpected. It was not originally in this bag because it says The Great Kazoo on the bag. This is a bag from, mycomicshop.com. I love seeing what the art is inside these. It's like, for me, each issue of a mystery/horror magazine from 70s DC is like a mystery blind bag. What artists will I get inside? So here we have Ernie Chua, also known as Ernie Chan, a very good artist, most well known, I guess, for his inking on Conan, but a good penciler and artist in his own right, good storyteller. Did a lot of great covers at DC. Looks like that's kind of a long one for one of these mystery magazines. And here, art by Rubini. I don't know who Rubini is, but this art looks really cool. So is there going to be a third story in here? this say? No Sleep for the Dead. For a second, I thought this was a iVampire story, but no, I guess not. Wow, I really like that art. The end. And then, where's the artist credit here? This looks like another Filipino artist to me. Story by Carl Wessler. Huh. Not sure who the artist is. Very cool. Okay. Look who's smiling now. Let's do just a few more. I got Enemy Ace. It looks like there's some damage to the cover here. I bought this at my shop. Von Hammer, the Enemy Ace. Was he based on the Red Baron? But I encountered one or two Enemy Ace stories in my youth, and I was fascinated by the idea. He was the anti-hero, right? He was the evil German, but we got the stories from his point of view, I think. This says Joe Kubert art. I think there was some that were drawn by Neil Adams. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't know. And I believe the artists back then prided themselves in getting the airplanes right and stuff, and the guns right. And some artists didn't want to do war comics because they didn't want to do that research. Of course, long before the internet. Yeah, so this is a full-length Enemy Ace story. You don't see many people using these circular panels anymore. Even back then, I think it had a bit of an old-fashioned look. But Joe Kubert uses it a lot here. It's hard to stop. I have so many comics, I really enjoy looking at them this way with you. I got a Hulk recently from my comic shop, Cloud9. This one with Tiger Shark, who as a kid, I was just fascinated with Tiger Shark's look. I don't think I owned this issue as a kid. I'm not 100% positive. We got Herb Trimp, Sal Trapani inks, Steve Englehart writer, which is almost always a very good thing. And this is Herb Trimp during the era that I particularly loved him. I think even by the time of Hulk 181, I thought his art was slipping. His art came back here and there. This is 160, so maybe 2 years before Hulk 181. Maybe it had something to do, partially to do with inkers. So let's see. I guess I'll stop there. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will put lots of links down below. Like I said, I was on Jeopardy. I was interviewed / had a great conversation with Justin. I also was on a little bit live on Comics with Bueller's channel, helping Bob sell his comics, which I'll be back, I think, Friday night on their channel, hanging out and possibly helping out or possibly hindering. Bob still has a lot more comics to sell and needs some more money to fix the roof of the house and all of that. There was something else that I was gonna, anyway, too much YouTube stuff happening. I had a lot of fun hanging out with George from Meanwhile at the Podcast. You may have already seen my video where he and I just chatted about previews. And he and I are probably going to do another live chat soon, but it will probably be about Harvey Comics next. Not sure exactly when we'll do that. Okay. Great to see you all, or not see you all, but talk to you all. And I will be back soon, probably with a double long episode of the Comic Book Countdown where I cover two weeks worth of books. Talk to you all later.